All right, hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. We are excited to invite our friends from the U.S. Census Bureau to give us a little more information about using My Community Explorer today. This is the second part of a three-part series that U.S. Census Bureau is working with us on to give us more education about their work and how it infuses into our activities. So today we'll be focusing on My Community Explorer. With us today are Mac Treese and Meredith Maxwell, who will be guiding us through this information. And we'll kick things off with Meredith. Meredith, welcome.
Thank
What
you
do you
very
have for us
much.
today? Thanks.
Thank you, Lawrence. So hi, Lawrence and team. Thank you again for collaborating with us and hosting using My Community Explorer. I am, as aforementioned, Meredith Maxwell, Data Dissemination Specialist with the United States Census Bureau, and I'm joined by my colleague, Mac Treese. Before we begin, just wanted to let you know that we do welcome questions during the webinar, so feel free to write it in the chat, and we'll go through them during the Q&A section, which is typically at the end. A copy of this presentation will be provided to you and the team within 24 to 48 hours. And at this point, I will be turning off my camera just to avoid any lags in the system. So I appreciate your patience there, but I assure you I'm still here. I'm going to go ahead and do that now, I think. All right, there we go. All right. So here's our objectives for the day. So we basically want to learn the foundations of community resilience estimates, otherwise known as CRE, and the relationship with My Community Explorer. It'll be a high-level overview of CRE data products as well. And we're going to use some scenarios to navigate practical ways to use My Community Explorer, otherwise known as MCE, which is an interactive map-based tool that highlights various demographic, socioeconomic data that measure inequality and can help inform data-based solutions. So here's what the landing page looks like for My Community Explorer, otherwise known as MCE. And as aforementioned, this is our interactive mapping tool, and it basically helps you understand the potential impact of disasters to people, businesses, and the economy. It's a very easy to use platform. It gives you a variety of data from economic to social, race and ethnicity, and various business profiles. Mac will get into the various surveys compiled to make this tool useful later on during this demonstration or training. But I assure you it's worthwhile. It has a lot of valuable information that's easy to access. So what makes CRE great? There are several sources of CRE data. We have the decennial census data for all pop down to the block level, the ACS, which has over 3.5 million household addresses each year, and the pop estimates, which basically produce post-census resident population estimates, which is also published annually. Now, CRE is different for several reasons. It uses restricted microdata housed in the Census Bureau. In the interest of privacy protection, microdata never leaves the Bureau and is not available to the public. Now, with the microdata, CRE are able to go down to the person level and flag individuals living with social vulnerability risk factors. And we'll get into a little bit more about that later. The lowest level available with public data is block, which is from the decennial census, and block group for a select number of geographies in the American Community 5-year data set. So just a reminder, if you're searching for block level, that's block level detail, that's only the decennial census. The American Community Survey gets you down to the block group level all the way up to the nation. And again, that's a sample. That's the 3.5 million households sampled each year. Okay. Now, because CRE uses microdata, it allows cumulatively flagged persons living with social vulnerability risk factors, as opposed to public data where you have to aggregate at various levels. The CRE also uses small area estimation and combines ACS microdata with population estimate program data to produce estimates with lower margins of error. I know it all sounds complex, but these are the details that go into making the CRE more valuable for you. which allow you to identify areas of social vulnerability via our CRE tools as well as the MCE tool. Now, the CRE uses 1-year ACS data, whereas other measures of social vulnerability and resilience use 5-year ACS data. So when we get to the MCE tool, you'll notice that all the data sets are set at the 5-year ACS data limits or levels. This difference makes the CRE more timely, meaning that only the year of interest is included in the data set. So there's just a little tidbit about the CRE. One of the great source of data from the Bureau, again, is the CRE, which offers a simple metric to gauge how social vulnerability every neighborhood is to a disaster. It provides, again, granular, relevant, precise, and timely information, which is particularly important for local officials when responding to emergencies. So this is what the landing page looks like for the CRE tool. And what you're looking at is our heat maps based on these social vulnerability. And you can see these are down to the track level. So the darker the color, the more socially vulnerable that particular geography is. So if you're one of those visual learners, this is a tool that's easy to use because all you have to do is just identify the color for your particular geography, zoom right in. And you can see right here, this is defaulted to Baltimore. The CRE visualization tool provides thematic maps of social vulnerability, as you're seeing here, and this again goes down to the census tracts. The darker shaded areas are deemed to have more than 3+ components of social vulnerability. For instance, if you were to click on a particular track, you'll get more details on both the percentage and the number of residents who have 3+, who have 3+ components of social vulnerability. And the SV samples, just so you understand, you can look at communication barriers, those who have no health insurance, those who are 65+, and even those who have no vehicle access, just to name a few. There are 10 social vulnerability points. That's just a couple, just to kind of highlight the kind of detail you can find here. Now, you may be wondering, so what is resilience? So basically, it's the capacity of individuals and households within a community to absorb, endure, and recover from the external stresses of the impacts of a disaster. Research shows that resilience can be predicted by individual and household characteristics. If you look at the intersection here, where you see social vulnerability, and you see this intersection for community resilience versus capacity, which includes risk factors, weakness or lack of resources, and capacity, like what are available protective factors, strengths, and capital or resources. This is where the intersection meets. And that's where the CRE is very helpful, as it gives you data on these types of variables. So again, if you're looking here, you can see where social vulnerability and capacity meet to equal community resilience. So you will have access to these slides. So these are a good resource, especially when you're diving deep into the data tools to kind of have a better understanding of these terms like social vulnerability, capacity versus CR, community resilience, or we call CRE, community resilience estimates. As aforementioned, there are 10 components of social vulnerability. Here's a list of those 10. It includes characteristics such as poverty, communication barriers, employment, disability, again, ages 65+, those who have access to transportation and the internet. Current estimates contain the number and percentage of residents living with 0, 1 to 2, and 3 or more components of social vulnerability. So you don't have to utilize the tool and go to the most extreme. You can look at those who might be, influenced by one component of social vulnerability, or those who have none. And again, the heat map will help you identify those areas rather quickly. The components of social vulnerability you can look at the nation, the state level, counties, down to the census tract. And if you're looking here at the image on the right, the number of social vulnerability by county level, the darker shades have 3+, with the lighter shades having 1 to 2 components. So there are several data products that have been developed related to social vulnerability, and here's a list of a few of them. These are the standard, the CRE. We also have the CRE for equity, the CRE for Puerto Rico, and the CRE for heat. So you can look here. When you get into our data tools, you'll see that we have basically 2+ pages of data tools. So that's about 60+ data tools. And these here are basically in our emergency management hub. And they're all relatable and similarly very easy to use. So these are just four of a few that we have regarding CRE products. So the standard CRE, which I've covered on the previous slide, it provides an easily understood metric of social vulnerability. It provides estimates for impacts of disasters, again, down to the census tract geographic level. The CRE for equity provides context to the estimates and adds to the discussion of equity. It includes the new 2022 equity estimates with race iterated variables that allow users. Oh, I'm sorry, we took out the equity. My apologies. I'm just so used to covering it. But we're currently not using the equity portion of the CRE. So my apologies there. But we do, again, let me just jump to the CRE for Puerto Rico, which expands the standard CRE, which focuses on the United States into Puerto Rico. Similarly, it uses restricted microdata from the Puerto Rico Community Survey and small area estimation methods. The estimates measure social vulnerability to disasters at the state, Commonwealth, municipal, and census tract geographic levels. The experimental, the last one here, CRE for heat, measures social vulnerability specifically in the context of extreme heat exposure. This estimate was developed in collaboration with Arizona State University's Knowledge Exchange for Resilience. The 2019 CRE for heat are produced using information on individuals and households from the American Community Survey and the Population Estimates Program, otherwise known as PEP. So there's a little bit about those four there. All right. So these are the four sources of data for MCE, or My Community Explorer. You have the CRE, the non-employer statistics, the American Community Survey, which again for MCE are 5-year estimates, and we have the county business patterns. Now, NES includes statistics on self-employed persons from the most recent NCS, and that's at the state and county levels by 2-digit NAICS codes. These include data on the number of firms and average annual receipts per firm. Additional NES data are also available via the program link above the thematic map. Now, just a quick blurb about the ACS. Again, it's a nationally representative survey with data on characteristics of the U.S. population. The sample is selected from all counties and county equivalents, and again, has a sample size of about 3.5 million. I won't go any deeper than that because we have covered the ACS, relatively well thus far. But just know it is our premier source for timely and detailed population and housing information about our nation and its communities. And then we have the county business patterns. If you're following along, you can see here, this is just a simple snapshot of what it'll look like when you actually access this via census.gov. And now this includes selected business statistics from the most recent county business pattern at the state and county levels, again by 2-digit NAICS code or North American Industry Classification System. These include data on the number of establishments, the average annual payroll per employee, and employment, which is based on the week from March 12th. So that's what's covered in MCE in a nutshell. Now, before we actually get to the demo in MCE, I just want to show you a few of the profiles that are available via the MCE data tool. So one of the first profiles to highlight is the economic profile. Here you can see a heat map of Butte County. Right? So if you look here, each one of these maps, I'm going to show you 4 of them, are completely interactive. So you can zoom into these colored areas and it'll provide you detail for that particular census tract, state, county, whatever level you're zoomed into. Okay, and then you have a legend here where you can adjust your thematic map. So again, you can look here for data on income, health insurance, poverty levels, and the Gini index utilizing ACS data. So if you're wondering here what the Gini index is, it's basically a summary measure of income inequality. So the Gini coefficient incorporates the detailed shares data into a single statistic, which summarizes the dispersion of income across the entire income distribution. So the Gini coefficient ranges from 0. So if you're at 0, that indicates perfect equality, where everyone receives an equal share, all the way up to 1, which is perfect inequality, where only one recipient or group of recipients receives all the income, that 1%. So that's the first profile. Now, the second profile, just to show you the range, we went ahead and highlighted Los Angeles County for this social characteristic profile. So keeping to the county level here is a robust social characteristics profile of one of our largest counties. You can see the trend continues here with the interactive heat map, where you can drill down data pertaining to the CRE, households with 1+ disability, broadband access, households with seniors, vehicle access, and language spoken at home. And you can see how easily accessible these details are. If you're looking at household with 1+ disability, you can see nearly 779,000. You can see just over 3 million households with broadband. You can see the primary language here spoken at home, okay? And households without a vehicle, nearly 300,000. Going back to Butte, we just wanted to take a quick look at the race and ethnicity profile. Here you see that familiar heat map here on the left, highlighting Butte County. With this race and ethnicity profile, it provides valuable data regarding race and Hispanic origin. One of the major race categories, white alone, far and away is a predominant race for Butte County, with Hispanic and Latino a very distant second. So again, just a fun way to view these data sets. Now, the last profile I'm going to show you, we're just going to hop back to Los Angeles County. And we are looking here at the complete business profile. You can see we have the county business patterns, the most recent release, 2022, and NES 2022 as well. And you can see here another heat map where you can drill down and identify various data sets like payroll per employee. So for Los Angeles County, you can see here we're looking at just over 74,000. There were 304,000 total employer establishments in 2022, with nearly 4 million employees for the week of March 12th. And the average annual payroll, you can see there, again, repeats this detail for efficiency. And there were just over 1 million total non-employer establishments in 2022. So provides some really cool insight. Mac is going to get into this detail here on the next few slides as she takes you through the demo. I'm going to go ahead and transition to Mac, who's going to take over.
Thank you so much, Meredith. So at this point, if you are interested also in following along, you could also open up your own web browser. Typically, our most recommended browser is using Chrome, but you can always use Edge or Firefox, and you can open it up to census.gov and follow along if you wanted to. So I'll be giving you a demonstration of how to utilize My Community Explorer. As Meredith mentioned, it contains a very robust number of surveys that would easily give you a snapshot of a community that you want to explore or understand. So for this particular scenario, we've come up with a scenario of a transportation department that actually needs to update the economic profile for LA County so that they can assess the transportation needs for lower income, those that are elderly, as well as others who use public transportation. So we will utilize MCE, or My Community Explorer, to identify on a county level those households below poverty, those who have the elderly, which is the 65 plus who are living alone, and households that have without a vehicle. I believe Meredith might have shown you earlier, but let me just show you how that is how you can actually navigate MCE in getting those data sets. So I'll go ahead and transition to our site right here. So there are various ways for you to get to My Community Explorer. This is our landing page, which is census.gov. You could either go through the different tabs on the top of our site, which kind of like navigates the different resources available to you. Our tools and apps are actually located within data and maps. As you can see here, if you hover over that, data tools and app is the third item within data and maps. And once you go into data tools and apps, all of the applications that we have are listed alphabetically. There are 2 pages, as I believe Meredith also kind of mentioned earlier. I do know that it is on page 2, so you can go ahead and just click on page 2, and My Community Explorer should be there, which is right here. There's also an easier or faster way. Either way, you could go back to our landing page again, going back to census.gov. And you can see here, there are some quick links. There would be, MCE is actually part of the emergency management. So if you click on emergency management, it takes you to the hub, and everything here is listed as well, and together with all the other applications or surveys that are related to emergency management. And here is the tool of My Community Explorer. So either way would work, whichever your preference is, but let's go ahead and go into the actual tool. So the landing page would just give you an option of taking a tour. That's really up to you if you wanted to. But I'm going to just go ahead and close that out. And it will basically take you to the dashboard that we have for MCE. So I usually look at this dashboard as like 3 different panels. The left-hand side here will give you information on the different legends of what is happening onto the main visual, which is kind of like our second panel. This is the interactive map where you could either zoom in or zoom out using the plus or minus icon, or even your mouse by just doing, a zooming in and zooming out using your mouse. On the right hand, this is the panel in terms of just the context of what you will be highlighting in terms of the region. So it will kind of give you a snapshot of what the household number is, the CRE or the social vulnerability of that particular area, and even the household characteristics. So at the bottom here are kind of like some of the other tabs where you could navigate in terms of the different profiles that Meredith showed you, whether you wanted to view the economic profile, social characteristics, race and ethnicities here as well, and then the business profile. So that kind of just gives you an idea of how to navigate the tool. But in order for you to see the area or the community you want to explore, we have to start with selecting the state or the context of where we want to view. And you're also able to view or select the county. So here on the upper right-hand panel of your screen, just go ahead and select the first step, and we will obviously select California. So once you do that, the map will actually change and zoom into the area that we've selected. And we'll go ahead, and since we were interested again in LA County in terms of the people who have lower income, elderly, as well as those who rely on public transportation, so we'll just go ahead and select our county. And everything is listed alphabetically if you click on step 2. Either you scroll down or type it into the search bar, whichever is your preference. Once you're here, just click on the radio button. And once you do that, our map will actually change and zoom in some more into that area. So it does take a while for the map to populate, but once you do have it, Right now, what you're seeing is still California here in terms of the community context. What you need to do is just click on to the area itself, Los Angeles County. And as you see, it actually changes in terms of the context. Now it's giving us the information on the county level. So we have 3.4 million in terms of household, and then you have 9.9 in terms of population. It's telling us that we have about 22% of the total population having 3 plus of the social vulnerability. Remember, so it's a combination of some of those SV elements that Meredith showed you earlier, the 10 categories. So that just gives you an idea of the CRE estimate. And then we have the characteristics as well of the households for this particular area. Now, what popped up as well is this summary of a little bit more information on the SRE or the SV, as we call it. So it's telling us right now that there's about 22% or almost, well, 22%, which has 3 plus component social vulnerability. It also tells us the number of individuals with 3 plus. So you have here the second one, the number of residents. This is the other information that you will get using My Community Explorer. Other things that you can actually see from this report is that it gives you topics of note. So it's telling us that topics in poverty, household crowding, as well as those who speak English less than very well, education, employment, health insurance, and those without vehicles seems to be of note, and tells us whether the score that or the estimates that that we have for that particular area is higher or lower than the state. So here we do see those that are higher, which means that it's higher in terms of Hispanic or Latino. There's also here higher in terms of the population that is male, higher in terms of the Gini index, and so on and so forth. So it's a really great resource in terms of highlighting what are topics to note when it comes to the county level. There are other information that you can get from this particular tool. If you see, there is this arrow from left to right, and it tells us right here that there's actually 2 pages to the report for LA County. So if you just click on the arrow to the right, it will give you kind of like the summary of the topics to note. So it's just a really fast way to generate the data or information that is very, very crucial or relevant when you are trying to understand that particular community. So that's really one way to do this. In order to get the other information that we were looking for, we were thinking about getting the information about poverty level. It does say it here, but here if you click onto the economic profile, and I believe Meredith already showed this to you, this is where you will find the numbers for those having income below poverty. It tells you where this is coming from. This is from the ACS release of 2022. So you won't, you always know where the data is coming from. In fact, it even leads you to the actual table. This is the same source right here, ACS 2022. And it's actually table C7002. And if you click on this, this will actually lead you to data.census.gov. I'm just going to open it as a separate tab. And once you do that, it goes into DCG, or sorry, data.census.gov. And it's the entire table that you can download and get if it's something that you want. Going back to MCE, So we now finally have the information on the number of households that are below poverty. In terms of households without vehicles, we'll be going into the social characteristics. That's where you will find it. Within here, you will see that 8.7% of households are actually those that do not have a vehicle, as well as those that are living, those that are 65 and above and are living alone. So you have 9% of households within LA County in terms of the population. So it even gives you information on languages spoken at home. Again, it's giving you the source of where this is coming from. This is from the ACS, table S1601, if you wanted to download that information and get that into your report. So just to go and summarize that, we did see that LA County, about 464,000 or almost 465,000 of the households are below poverty. And then we found out that about 8.7% or almost 9% of the households have no vehicle. And then in terms of the household living 65 and above who are living alone, we have about 9% of households. So that's just one example of navigating MCE. We have one more before we go into the Q&A. Is that we wanted to identify what if I wanted to go deeper and find out what are the top 3 census tracts that has the highest rate of 3+ components of social vulnerability. And this time around, we're going into Butte County. And after we identify those tracts, we want to understand also which of these tracts has the highest percentage of population with a disability, as well as the highest percentage of population living below poverty. So that's kind of like our scenario number 2. So we'll go ahead and go back to our tool, which is the MCE. Right now, as you saw, it's defaulted to LA County, right? So in order to change the county level, we're going to go ahead and click back on step number 2 here on this icon. And once you do that, all you need to do is click on the reset. So it just kind of refreshes everything and allows you to search for the for your geography. So it does take a while for it to actually refresh. So it takes you back to the search. Either you type in the geography, but since Butte County is right here, I'm just going to go ahead and click on Butte County. So once you do that, just click back into the first tab here at the bottom of your screen, which is the interactive map. So it takes us into Butte County right here. Let me close this out for now so that you can have a better view of Butte County. So again, just click on the region or the geography that you pre-chosen. So that's Butte County. Right now, it's showing it to us on county level, but what you can do is just to zoom in. And once you do that, more of the details will show. As you can see, we have census tracts coming up. If you wanted to change this and have a bit more texture or understand exactly where you are, you do have the option of changing the base map to have more details by clicking on more details right here. There's an icon of the double chevron, and it gives you options on what to choose. Here, if you hover here, it will show you there's actually a choice for base map. And if you click on this little icon right here, it will give you the option of either filling in navigation, different types of navigation. I usually take the navigation of places, so it kind of just gives me context of what I'm looking at and kind of gives me an idea of some of the streets, or as you can see, we find more roads. At least I understand exactly where that census tract falls under, or what what it is or where it's located. So as Meredith mentioned, the darker shaded area tells us that that particular geography would have a higher percentage of the population having more than 3+ components. So if you look at Butte County, it does tell us that here, this first darker shaded area seems to be one of the top in terms of just the uh, components of SD, right? So if you click on this particular census tract, it tells us that and gives us the details of what the tract has in terms of the population in the community. It's census tract 32, and there's a total population of 4,331. About 51% of them, of the residents, actually have 3+ social vulnerability. And then we do have the details as well of the count. This is on the county level, and then this is on the census tract level right here. So it gives you both numbers. And then if you scroll down again, you will have the topics of note in terms of what might be those components of social vulnerability. So it could be a combination of poverty, it could be about education, in terms of employment, disability, and access to broadband. So here we will find a bit more details on disability as well. You would have here population in terms of civilian population with a disability, which is higher than the state, and then in terms of income and poverty level as well. So we already kind of identified one because I did check on all of these tracks, and this track actually has one of the highest in terms of social vulnerability percentage. And then the next one that I found was actually this one right here, which is census tract number 2402. It tells us that it has about 40% or 14.13% of residents having 3+ social vulnerability, and then 1,384 of those having 3+ components. Again, you can view the details of in terms of disability as well as income and poverty, which would be here. We do have about 27% of them, also again higher than the national, than the state in terms of population with having disability, and also with income or poverty level, income below the poverty level, higher than the state. And then the last one that I found, where we're just looking for the top 3, was actually this one right here, the census tract, which is census tract 21. Again, it's giving us the number of residents with 3+ components, and number of individuals having the 3+ components. So we were looking for those top 3 tracks with the 3+ for Butte, as well as those which amongst those tracks had the highest percentage of population with disability, as well as poverty level. So I kind of did a screenshot of the 3 tracks, kind of like to compare across. So we do have, it seems that in terms of the population with the highest in terms of disability would be census tract number 21, sorry, which gives us a 33% or almost 34% of the population having disability. And then we also have here in terms of the highest among the tracks here, which is the highest percentage of population with income below the poverty. We have this track here, which is 2402, at almost 27%. So kind of just a recap, here are kind of just those three things that we went through. So we've identified the three tracks. Among those tracks, we have track 21 with the highest percentage of disability, and track 24 in terms of income and below poverty, with the highest percentage of population. So that kind of just gives you an idea of how this could be utilized, and you might be able to do your own research. There are other topics of interest there. We haven't even explored the county business profile as well as the other tabs, but if you are interested in knowing more, we will be happy to showcase those as well. But at this point, we wanted to open it up for questions if you had any before we close up.
There are no questions in the chat, man.
Hey, I have one for you. I was poking along with you online, and I noticed that there was like a more detailed report available in some places. You could click a link and it would take you to, a more detailed kind of I don't know. The reason I bring this up is we use this kind of data in our needs assessment
Mm-hmm.
activities, just like the example that you provided. And some of those additional details are nice to have as like a printable takeaway, bring it to your board kind of a layout. I wonder if you could speak to that a little bit. What are some of the other ways that we can export data from this system to use?
Absolutely. So I believe some of the ones that I think I mentioned earlier, if you go to, let's just say, the economic profile, I did click on some of the links. So right here, if you do click on the ACS source, it does bring you to data.census.gov. So data.census.gov is one of our most robust platform to generate data. You should be able to utilize the different filters available for you. Either you can select the geography, a particular survey, a year, or different topics, and it should generate for you the table. But for this instance, it actually led you to the table. What you can do is if you wanted to download this, you do have the option of going into the more tools, and you could download through Excel or CSV. Let me just make this bigger so you can see it better. So you are able to download Excel, CSV, or a zip file. One cool thing about data.census.gov as well is you're able to cite the source. So we made it easy for you. If you click on cite, you should be able to copy and paste this. In fact, we will be covering this in more detail in our next session for the American Community Survey, because it would really give you a more robust way. And also data.census.gov has the most recent releases that we have in terms of just the surveys. But going back to MCE, since we did talk about several of the different sources that we have, so some of them, like for instance, the county business profile, will probably bring you to a different application. Let me see one other. Oh, yes. So I think what you were looking at earlier was here, which is Census Business Builder, correct? Is that correct, Lawrence? Maybe that's something that you actually went into. But CBB is a great tool if you want to navigate information about businesses. You can either navigate, it does go down to a lot of the details. So for instance, here you would have demographic characteristics, social, economic, housing, because we have not actually selected an area. So it's right now, it's just giving you an idea of what you can pull from this particular tool. Let me see if there are others. So here, if you click on Explore CRE, So it brings you to the actual application for CRE. Might not be this one, but there must be here. If you click on community resilience estimates, it should bring you to the actual landing page. And here is the CRE tool if you just want to navigate to just community resilience estimates. So this is the tool if you wanted to do that. And it lets you to choose whether you want to view the geography, those that just have 1 to 2 components or 0 components, or typically it's the 3+ components that you want to look at, right? So within here, you should also be able to locate an address or choose a location. So if we go by county again, I'm just going to type in Los Angeles, California, and it zooms into LA County. So here it's more detailed because with MCE, there's a lot more going and happening. But we just here, it just actually just focuses on the social vulnerability of the 3+ components. Yeah, so hopefully that kind of like gives you a flavor of the other tools that are available or are linked within MCE to explore.
That's great. Thank you, Mac, for going through that. There just seem to be so many great tools that are available. It's like getting teased a little bit with some of the other things that are available, but this is great. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we'd be happy because it does, going through the different tools, we definitely want to ensure that we walk you through it real well. So we welcome the opportunity. If there's interest in any of the other tools, we'd be happy to go through those and walk them through with like sample scenarios again. Okay, so just wanted to close out from our deck here. Just wanted to remind everyone that we do have within our site other resources that you can utilize if you are interested in doing your own learning at your own pace. We have what we call the Census Academy. There are various resources within there. You are able to access what we call data gems. Those are kind of like our short how-to videos. In fact, Meredith produces those videos. Feel free to navigate to our site. You can also avail of the different courses that we have. Maybe that would be kind of like longer versions of our data gems, more in depth in terms of just going through the different surveys as well as the tools. And then also, our favorite thing to do is really having kind of like this discussion with you where you are able to interact with, where we are able to interact with you, which is a much more fun way to learning than just going through the different data gems or videos. Feel free to reach out to us if you wanted to ask any questions or if you wanted to go through different exercises as well. As I said, we welcome the opportunity to provide you with training, with any of the tools that we have, or maybe even understanding a survey that you might be interested in. Feel free to just reach out. Our information is here. You can always send it to census.askdata@census.gov. I'm also putting on screen here our contact information. Thank you so much, Lawrence. We really appreciate everyone's time. We hope this was helpful to you. And please come back again for the next session, which will dive deeper into the American Community Survey.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Our pleasure. Thanks for hanging in there.